What's going on, Sooner Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Field Vision with Coach Clinton. I'm your host, Brian Clinton, contributor over at OUinsider.com. We've got a special edition of the episode for you today. We are looking at John Mateer, new quarterback for the Oklahoma Sooners. More specifically, we are looking at a comparison that's been thrown around a lot. That pretty much ever since Ben Arbuckle became the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, John Mateer's name has been spread all over the place in Norman and around the country, whether or not he would enter the transfer portal, where he would end up. Last week we saw that happen. He ends up in Oklahoma, ends up with the Sooners, and immediately the comparison that you see is Baker Mayfield. Now, that's high praise. Everybody in Norman's well aware. 2017 Heisman Trophy winner, also won the Maxwell, the Davy O'Brien, the Manning Award. You name it, he won it that season. And for the 3 years that he was the quarterback at Oklahoma, the offenses there under his leadership and under Lincoln Riley were the best in the country. And so when you say somebody is like Baker Mayfield in any way, around here, that means something. Now, there are lots of similarities between the two. We'll start with that. Um, the way that I'm going to do this, I'm taking a look at Baker Mayfield's 2015 season statistically here to open. Reason I picked that season, that's his sophomore year, redshirt sophomore year after he redshirts in 2014 for transfer rules back then. And then we see Mateer's sophomore season this year. Obviously, the Big 12 versus at that point versus what Mateer played against in the Pac-12 and mostly a Mountain West Conference schedule. It's a little different, but the numbers still stand. 13 games for Mayfield, 12 for Mateer. Obviously, sitting out the bowl game since he's with the Sooners now. Baker completes 68.1% of his passes. Mateer 64.6% of his passes, with about 50 less attempts on the year. Mayfield 3,700 yards passing on the nose. Mateer 3,139 yards. So that comes out to about 20 yards more per game for Mayfield there. 36 touchdowns and 7 interceptions for Mayfield, 29 touchdowns to 7 interceptions for Mateer. Baker Mayfield had 141 rushing attempts for 405 yards on that season. Mateer had 178 attempts, so about 30, almost 40 more attempts, but double the yardage, 826 yards rushing, 4.6 yards a carry there. One of the big things to note here, Mayfield was sacked a total of 9 times that season behind that offensive line at Oklahoma. Mateer sacked 31 times this season. So, big difference. Sack adjustment yards. I'd be curious to see if Mateer was over 1,000 in sack total adjustment yards. But nonetheless, big difference there. Rushing touchdowns, Mayfield had 7 to Mateer's 15. Total offense, Mayfield totaled 4,105 yards and 43 touchdowns his sophomore year. Mateer 3,965 yards and 44 touchdowns. So one more touchdown, about 100 yards less. It breaks out to Mayfield being accountable for 315 yards a game, and Mateer's right at 330 a game. So, pretty interesting comparison between the two. But let's take a look at some things here on film between the guys that we see some comparables. One of the things that make Baker Mayfield so special was his ability to throw the ball outside the pocket, to get outside the pocket, to move and make accurate throws. Here we see him do that against Ohio State in the third quarter of that game up in Columbus, which ended up with the flag plant, and we all know what that means nowadays. It's a felony, just about. But Mateer, we kind of get an opportunity to see him do something similar here on a couple of plays. This one for a touchdown, you kind of see that similar motion where he just flips his hips quick, is able to sidearm the ball and get it in there, fits it in over the corner, and before the safety can get there. So just excellent ball on the move. We also see him do it against Washington. Here he's rolling out and is able to convert on a second and 13. Just a simple little throw here is able to square his hips to the line of scrimmage and throw the ball accurately and on time. So just another great example. And here, this is a designed rollout in the same game later on, where you see not just the accuracy, but the touch he's able to put on on the football, rolling out. Very very composed, very under control, lots of poise, and is able to just put that ball right where it needs to be, and is able to extend Washington State's lead there. Something else that made Baker Mayfield uh, special, made him pretty unique, is the play was never really over. There was always a possibility that something crazy could happen. One of the plays I used as an example is this the first touchdown here on a 4th and 3 against Kansas. This was the no handshake game, if you remember that, where he finds Rodney Anderson. He's running out of room over here. Rodney Anderson just kind of comes open here late, ends up running in for a score. We see this a similar thing with Mateer. He starts his progressions here on the left side of the field, doesn't like what he sees immediately, works back to the right, comes back left, nothing's there. Then he starts directing traffic, sees his wide receiver is kind of standing there open by himself, directs him upfield, and he's able to pick up a big gain here on 1st and 10. Great ball again on the move off his back foot, just shows great arm strength, um, and a big gain uh, for Wazoo. Here, another example: Baker plays never over, finds Sermon out here in the flat, and ends up going in for a big score. Kind of a similar thing. Almost can't really tell if this is designed. It almost feels as if it is an option in there for them. But again, this looks he draws the safety and all the defenders in with his threat of running, and is able to flip it out there for what ends up being a score, just barely. So uh, big play for them. And again, it's just kind of one of those things. It's not probably how the play was drawn up, but it ends up in a score. And again, here we see sprint pass. Uh, San Jose State does a good job walling this off, but Mateer's able to flip the ball up there, just a four pitch pretty much to his tight end, and they pick up points. It's just that the play is never truly over with this guy, and so we see another example here of Mayfield. Big moment, 3rd and goal. Oklahoma's down 14 points. We all remember the game in Knoxville, and you got to have it. And he puts it on P Ryan there, even though it looks like he's run out of room. And it's just we see lots of similar play between Mayfield and Mateer here. So you really have to like what you see from that aspect. He's able to really navigate and be that field general that Mayfield was, and it'll be interesting to see what it looks like when competition is a little more fierce, obviously in the SEC than it is out there in the Mountain West, considering what the Pac-12 is nowadays. But there is precedent there for what Mateer is capable of doing. Here, this is just a fantastic ball. Like here against Fresno State, uh, this is just a good show of his arm strength. Being able to zip that uh, downfield off of his back foot, rolling out 3rd and 12. Uh, Got to have it play and gets it in there. Really like that one. All right, something else. Let's take a look at something else that Mayfield did really well. Throwing with anticipation, uh, getting the ball in there whenever you've got to have it in goal line situations, but also just being able to uh, anticipate what the defender's going to do, what his guy's going to do, and trusting his guy, getting the ball in there with somebody in his face. We see him do that here in the Bedlam game. I believe this was 2016. And Mateer here, similar situation. Got a defender in his face, coming free, and is able to deliver a strike there. We say it here. This is actually his freshman year in cleanup duty against Northern Colorado. Just a great zip on this ball, lots of strength behind it. Fits it in a tight window and is able to lead his guy into the end zone there. So throws with great anticipation, and then he shows the ability to throw off platform too, and we see a good angle of him being able to sidearm it here. It's really unorthodox the way he throws the football, but uh, really like this and think that this is a good quality, something that we saw a little bit out of Mayfield at times, and that's just another good example. Uh, Something else. Let's take a look at this. We've all seen these long bombs, pretty much that Mayfield threw over and over again during his career at Oklahoma. Just great, a three ball, high trajectory, giving his guy the ability to go up and grab it. And Mateer does this well as well. We see him do this here against Boise State. Trying to keep his team in the game here in the fourth quarter, and opens up the last quarter with a ball like that. Just excellent placement, and we see him here as well. This one is actually you can tell this is a one step read for him. He knows exactly where the ball's going. Safety is up in the box on play action, and so he's got one on one with his guy. And two all season long, Kyle Williams was his guy, and he's going to throw that ball every time. And they connect here for a score. Um, we see him do this time and again. This ball here, uh, just perfect, and he leaves no opportunity for the defender to get to it. Uh, Throws his guy open in the end zone. Gotta love that. And here on out, we just kind of see play for play. Uh, you can kind of watch Mayfield and Mateer do their thing, comparison play for play, and it's almost eerie just how similar these guys are in delivering the ball to their playmakers uh, in several different ways. We see the slants here with Hollywood, and then obviously Mateer hits one. Mayfield to Badet against Baylor. See a long ball down the sidelines with probably between a 2 and a 3 ball, and same thing for Mateer, right up the sideline. Great ball placement. Um, Mayfield here throws more of a 2 ball to Mixon and leads him open into open space. And again, you see Mateer do the same thing here down late and is able to connect on a much needed touchdown for that. We there's just so much that these guys do that looks similar. And no, it's not all step for step. It's not all the exact same thing. But whenever these guys have the ball in their hand, good things tend to happen. All right. One of the last things uh, that we'll talk about is Mayfield's ability to. He was. You almost heard it a lot being said that he was sneaky athletic. He was a guy that could hurt you with his legs, and even though that wasn't necessarily what you thought about him for, Mateer even more so is more of a threat to run. Now he's not to Kyler Murray's level. Of course, nobody is. We're talking about one of the best running quarterbacks ever in the game, and but Mateer is somewhere between those guys. He is somebody that you have to take account for. He was a leading rusher for his team this season, and we see some ability here on a couple of reps where he just gets loose and is an absolute menace and somebody that forces defenses and defensive coordinators to have to take into account everything that he does with his legs. And it ends up putting defenses in a bad spot because you have to leave spies, you have to leave guys in open space covering, and you're not allowed to bring everyone you want to on a rush. And those things stack up. It really matters when you have defenders in a place where they're kind of in no man's land. That ends up stacking up on you. So he is somebody I will say that's probably a part of his game that I would say is probably better than Mayfield's is his ability to run. Um, so there are some things where he's a little bit different, and that's kind of what we'll close with here. This was this stretch of game against San Diego State. There's a couple of things that just really stick out uh, that we'll let play through as I close this out here. Um, Mateer is he's a ball player. He's straight up just an excellent football player. Understands what's going on. Um, Understands what the defense is trying to do. Just as the sophomore showed excellent football IQ, and the other part of it is he's just a gamer. There are so many times where uh, you watch his tape and it seems as if he's dead to rights and he ends up finding a way of falling forward, getting a first down, putting his shoulder down, and picking up the extra yards. And his team really just they fell in behind him, and they all pretty much they were playing with a common goal. And when an offense is doing that, and the quarterback can be the ringleader of that, it adds an extra value to things. And I think that you see uh, with Mateer, that is something that goes on more often than not. And if that correlates, and the expectation is that it will, if that correlates whenever he gets to Oklahoma, uh, there's a very good chance that the offense is going to be back up to standard and up to par for what Oklahoma fans have grown used to over the years. So, is he Baker Mayfield? Not one for one, but there are aspects to his game that definitely resemble what Six used to do in Crimson, and I think it's something that you guys should be really excited about for 2025. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the latest episode of Field Vision. Appreciate you guys. As always, if you're not subscribed over at OU Insider, make sure you get over there. All the top information coming in on transfer portal information, recruiting, spring football is going to be here before you know it, and everything that you need to know on that, on Sooners basketball, softball, all of it's over there on OU Insider. So make sure you get over there and get subscribed, and we will catch you next time.